Historical photos of circus freaks that actually existed. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, freak shows were a popular part of American culture. These exhibitions, often seen as a form of curious amusement, attracted middle-class crowds and provided a lucrative venture for showmen. But behind the spectacle were real people with extraordinary stories. Mirin Dejo was a Dutch performer who shocked the world by piercing his body with swords, yet seemingly felt no pain or injury. Imagine watching someone run with a sword through their abdomen, yet showing no sign of distress. Dejo did just that, leaving even doctors baffled. His journey was just as extraordinary. At 33, he claimed his body was invulnerable and began performing jaw-dropping acts like swallowing glass and razor blades. He believed a higher power was using him to demonstrate that life is more than materialism, which he thought only led to misery and war. Dejo's life took a strange turn when he heard voices instructing him to swallow a steel needle. Here is the X-ray of the needle he swallowed. After surgery to remove it, he astonishingly walked through Zurich, seemingly healthy. Yet days later, he mysteriously died, reportedly from a ruptured aorta. His life remains a mystery, filled with unbelievable feats and eerie claims that continue to captivate people to this day. She had one husband, 5 children, 4 legs, and 2 sets of reproductive organs. Born in 1868 in Tennessee, Myrtle had a rare condition called tegus, which resulted in her having 2 pelvises and 4 legs. Of these legs, only one pair belonged to her. The other pair belonged to her twin sister, whose body was only fully developed from the waist down. Despite having 4 legs, Myrtle could only walk using one leg, as the other set was tiny and had just 3 toes on each foot. By the age of 13, Myrtle became a popular sideshow performer known as the Four-Legged Girl from Texas. Her father initially showed her to curious neighbors, charging them a dime each. Realizing her potential for fame and financial success, Myrtle joined the sideshow circuit, where she earned a substantial income, up to $450 a week at her peak. Her fame even caught the attention of the legendary showman P.T. Barnum, under whose management she performed for several years. At 18, she left the circus world, and soon after, she married a doctor named Clinton Bicknell, who loved her for who she was, not her fame. The couple had 5 children, and it was rumored that some were born from one set of reproductive organs and some from the other, as Myrtle had 2 sets due to her twin sister's presence. Later in life, financial struggles forced her to return to the sideshow circuit after 20 years of retirement. Sadly, in 1928, Myrtle passed away due to a skin infection that modern antibiotics could have easily treated. Schlitzie, one of the most famous sideshow performers of the early 1900s, led a life as unusual as his appearance. Often billed as the Monkey Girl or the Last of the Aztecs, Schlitzie captured public attention due to his small, misshapen head caused by a condition called microcephaly, which left him with the mental capacity of a toddler. Despite this, he spent decades performing in major circuses, dressed as a girl because it made diaper changes easier, as he suffered from incontinence. His fame peaked after starring in the 1932 film Freaks, where his childlike innocence won the hearts of many, despite the film's controversial nature. After the death of his guardian in 1965, Schlitzie was committed to a mental institution where he spent 3 lonely years until a former sideshow performer recognized him and brought him back to the life he loved. Schlitzie continued to perform until retirement, spending his later years feeding pigeons in a park. Despite his fame, he died without a home or fortune, and it wasn't until 2007 that a fan raised enough money to place a gravestone at his resting place in Los Angeles. Born without arms and legs, Prince Randian, also known as the human caterpillar, defied all odds. Born into an enslaved family in 1871 in British Guiana, he had a rare condition called tetra amelia syndrome, which left him without limbs. Discovered by the legendary P.T. Barnum at just 18, Randian was brought to the U.S., where he amazed audiences by performing everyday tasks like rolling and lighting a cigarette, shaving, or even painting, all without hands. He also appeared in the 1932 MGM film Freaks. Prince Randian wasn't just a performer. He was a man of many talents. He spoke multiple languages, including German, French, and English, and was a devoted husband to his Hindu wife, Princess Sarah, with whom he had 4 or 5 children. Despite his condition, he sustained a long career, performing for over 40 years at Coney Island and with Cross Amusement Company. He passed away on December 19, 1934, just hours after his final performance. Stephen Bobrowski, known as Lionel the Lion-Faced Man, had a rare condition called hypertrichosis, which covered his body with thick, golden hair. The story of his birth is as haunting as it is fascinating. Stephen's mother, Benedetta, claimed that while pregnant, she witnessed her husband being mauled to death by a lion, a trauma she believed caused her son to be born half lion, half man. Whether rooted in superstition or desperation, this belief led to her selling Stephen to a circus manager when he was just 4 years old. As Lionel, Stephen quickly became a star attraction. People flocked to see the boy with the lion-like mane, which grew up to 8 inches long on his face. But Stephen was not just an oddity. He was a performer. By the time he was 11, he was thrilling American audiences with his acrobatic skills and charming personality. Unlike many circus performers who shied away from interacting with spectators, Stephen relished it. He was intelligent, fluent in 5 languages, and had ambitions of becoming a dentist, a dream he held onto even as the world gawked at him. He was fiercely protective of his unique look, once rushing out of a hotel fire in New York, terrified that if his hair were damaged, he would lose what made him special. In the late 1920s, Stephen retired and moved to Germany, where he hoped to live out his days in peace. Sadly, he died of a heart attack in 1932 at just 41 years old. Minnie Woolsey, known as Cuckoo the Bird Girl, was a unique sideshow performer born in 1880 in Georgia with a rare condition called Virchow-Seckel syndrome. Minnie had a distinctive appearance, short stature, a bird-like face with a beak-like nose, large eyes, and a small head. She was also bold, toothless, and either blind or very nearsighted. Minnie became a star in the sideshow world, often dressing in a feathered bodysuit with a single feather on her head, dancing and speaking in gibberish to entertain crowds. She made her only film appearance in the 1932 cult classic Freaks, where she stood out in a wedding scene, dancing on a table in her feathery costume. Despite her fame, Minnie's life was full of hardships. Imagine seeing a man calmly turn his head completely backward like an owl. That man was Martin Joe Lorello, known as the Human Owl. Unlike most circus performers of his time, Lorello looked like an ordinary person until he revealed his shocking trick. This wasn't a talent he was born with. He spent years training his body to twist his head more than 120 degrees, making him a sensation at Coney Island's Dreamland Circus, and later with Ripley's Believe It or Not. Lorello's act was more than just a shocking sight. He could even drink a beer while his head was turned backward, though smoking or breathing in this position was impossible. But his fame wasn't just limited to his head-turning ability. His life was as dramatic as his performances. During a show in 1931, Lorello was arrested on stage for abandoning his family. With his head turned backward, he winked at the arresting officers, who, surprisingly, winked back before taking him into custody. Isaac W. Sprague, known as the Human Skeleton, lived a life shaped by a mysterious condition that caused his weight to plummet to skeletal levels. He wore a flask of milk around his neck to maintain energy throughout the day. Born in 1841 in Massachusetts, Isaac was healthy until age 12, when he suddenly began losing weight despite a hearty appetite. By adulthood, he weighed just 43 pounds while standing 5 feet 6 inches tall. With his parents gone and unable to work traditional jobs due to his frail health, Isaac turned to the sideshow circuit to make a living. In 1865, he joined P.T. Barnum's famous American Museum, earning $80 a week, a substantial income back then. Despite his success, Isaac's life wasn't easy, although he later tried to lead a quieter life, marrying Tamar Moore and having 3 healthy sons. Financial difficulties drove him back to the sideshow circuit. His condition, diagnosed later as a form of muscular atrophy, continued to deteriorate. Isaac's fame inspired many imitators, some of whom deliberately starved themselves to emulate his skeletal look. Isaac's story had a tragic end. In 1887, he passed away in poverty in Chicago, just after betting $250 that he wouldn't live past a particular Saturday. Isaac made an extraordinary arrangement with Harvard Medical School, agreeing that after his death, they could cut my body open and make a post-mortem examination to find out if possible why I am so thin. In exchange, he received $1,000, which he likely needed to support his family. Although it's unclear if Sprague's body did indeed go to Harvard Medical School for study, his grave is located in Hanson, Massachusetts, near the town where he was born. Pascal Pinyin, famously known as Pedro the Two-Headed Man, was the star of a circus freak show 100 years ago, capturing the attention of audiences across America. But here's the shocking truth. Pinyin's second head wasn't a head at all. It was a tumor that the circus cleverly disguised to look like a real head, complete with a face and beard. When the circus rolled into Gardner in 1919, Pinyin was in trouble, suffering from severe headaches. He was taken to the hospital, where doctors decided that the tumor had to be removed to save his life. Performed in what is now Haywood Hospital, the operation was dramatic enough to make headlines. The Gardner News ran with the startling headline, "Pedro the Two-Headed Circus Man Decapitated at the Hospital." After recovering, Pinyin returned to Mexico, leaving behind the bizarre and sometimes cruel world of the circus, where people like him were once put on display for the amusement of others. Ella Harper, known as the Camel Girl, captivated 19th century audiences with her astonishing appearance. Her knees bent backward, resembling a camel's. Born in 1870 in Tennessee, Ella's rare condition made her a star attraction in circuses by age 12. She earned the equivalent of $5,000 a week today, a staggering sum for the time. But Ella was more than just a sideshow curiosity. Despite her fame, she left the circus at 16 to pursue education, a bold move that shocked many. She later married, but her life was marked by tragedy, losing 2 daughters, one biological, one adopted, before passing away from colon cancer at 51. Madame Gustico was famous for her incredibly stretched lips, which she achieved by inserting increasingly larger discs between her gums and lips. At its most extreme, her lips stretched about 8 inches from her mouth, a striking and bizarre feature to many but perfectly normal in her culture. Her most famous photograph, taken on April 12, 1930, shows her smoking a pipe, which was a clever touch to highlight her functionality, despite the unusual appearance of her lips. At that time, she was a sensation at Coney Island's freak show, an era when such displays were popular and TV had not yet become mainstream. These remarkable people lived lives that were as fascinating as they were challenging. Their stories aren't just a part of circus history. They're a reminder of human resilience and the strength to embrace our differences. If you found these stories interesting, please like this video and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.